Hey guys, Perry here, and I am so excited because I'm starting my Comic-Con off right with someone that I really admire who's making a movie that I'm really freaking excited about. Andy Muschietti, the director of It. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
You feeling pretty good this morning?
Yeah, pretty good.
You deserve to celebrate a little last night because we got to see 2 clips from your movie, and as a fan of the source material, I'm very happy right now.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here and to show that material, and happy to celebrate too. And even though I'm a little hangover right now, I'm happy to be here.
You earned it. You earned that hangover.
Thanks.
Can we go back a little bit? So you had Mama come out, and it was your feature directorial debut, and then you don't have It come out until 2017. And it's really easy for someone to go online and to look at your IMDb page and be like, oh, that's a 4-year gap. So what was going on then? Because I know it's really tough to get your next project going and get it off the ground.
Yeah, I guess, it's a bit of it. It's how the industry works. I got engaged in several projects that were bigger movies that for one reason or the other didn't happen. So you have to be careful when you pick your projects. Some seem very exciting, but then for reasons that you cannot control, they're stopped or frozen or fall apart. The Mummy was one of them. I was, a few months working on that, and it just didn't happen for reasons that have to do with creative, differences and stuff. But I was working a long time on that. Then Shadow of the Colossus, which is a project I've been chasing for a long time, and I
think
still
I
want to
wrote
do.
that up in like 2014 when you signed signed up for that on Collider.com.
Yeah, I'm sure that I read it, by the way. Of course, that's a project that got me very excited, and it still gets me very excited, and it's a movie that I want to do because I think it can be the biggest adventure ever shot, ever filmed. But for now, it's not happening. So that's one reason, and the other reason is basically you're just picky.
As you should be.
Yeah.
Film takes a pretty significant chunk out of your life, so you better be committed and happy about whatever you're working on.
Yeah, so of course there's some sort of like pressure to keep on shooting, so you don't fall off the attention of the industry.
There's also something to be said for taking your time and making a good movie and just having them spread out and all be great. I have very high hopes for this, so I think you made the right choice. Signing on for It, though, is there any kind of nerves that come into it? Because, you're working with a beloved Stephen King novel, and then on top of that, you do have to step in for Carrie on this one. So does all that get in your head at all, or were you pretty confident when you started?
Not really. I admire Stephen King immensely, but you go into shooting this movie and reimagining the story by looking inside your experience as a reader and your emotional experience with that story. So you're not really trying to step up to a general perception, like a collective perception of the book, but you're looking inside, and I think that's very important when you're making a movie. When you're making a movie that deals with emotions and feelings, and when you're making a movie with horror, which is the other little bit of thing that you also have to look inside, because I think that if you're trying to scare an audience, you have to first see what scares you.
Yeah, that's what the whole book is almost about, is them kind of assessing what scares them and then Pennywise manipulating them in that sense.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic monster because it's so epic in the sense that there's nothing more scary than a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
That can turn into your worst fear,
And speaking of that, you brought up the Mummy before. There's clearly classic monsters in It, the novel. Are you allowed to use any of them, or do you have new creatures that Pennywise can transform into?
Well, we had the freedom of introducing any of the characters from the book, but I don't want to spoil it, but I chose to expand that range of fears, because I love the book, of course, but the book is basically the childhood in the 50s.
Yeah.
Which is like probably Stephen King's experience growing up, kids going to the movies and watching monsters from Universal movies like The Mummy and Dracula and Frankenstein, and all those monsters that are very lovable, but they're a bit dated if you're going to make an adaptation of it. I wanted to basically layer those fears and make them deeper and more strange.
Mm-hmm. There's also some things in the book that nowadays might not really fly with a modern audience, but some of that kind of material is just, I mean, it's very, very important to making it the novel as scary as it really is. So how do you kind of take some of those, less appropriate elements and incorporate them into your film while still making sure a modern audience gives you the thumbs up for it?
You have to repeat that because I got lost.
Just talking a little bit about some of the material in the book that might be considered a little inappropriate, not very PC nowadays.
Oh, okay.
But it's very important to the character's journey. So I imagine you have to manipulate it, but still keep it in the film.
Well, there's so much going on in that book, so many events. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but there's a lot of you're probably talking about the ending.
That is definitely one of them. Yeah.
Well, let's take that as an example. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone digs that event. And nobody really understands it, and people who try to draw a theory from it, I think they think it's a necessary analogy of the kids sort of doing a ritual of passage. Mm-hmm. From childhood to adulthood, and in that way they become immune to being victims of their own imagination because they become adults. Things like that were not necessary, I think, in the movie. Other subjects and themes that are sort of hardcore, like abuse and stuff. Mm-hmm. They are in our movie. We have it's an R-rated movie. Yeah. So we were able to explore those themes freely, of course with subtlety, mm-hmm. and some ambiguity also.
It's like that with the bullying in mm-hmm. the book as well. It's just nowadays I feel like anytime I see a movie that's about, middle school or high school age kids, mm-hmm. bullying is a matter of someone being called names or having food thrown at them. This is a very different type of bullying that's featured in the novel. Is that going to be in the film to that extent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can, you have to see it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I want to make Henry Bowers is the villain, the human villain in the story, and he's a bully, and he's pretty hardcore. Mm-hmm. I won't give you the nuances of the character, but you're gonna see it. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah.
Going back a little, we talked about adapting Stephen's book for your film, but how about going from what Carrie started? Is there anything from his original script that's going to be in the final feature?
Some of it, yeah.
Is there anything about his script that kind of felt really important to hold tight to while also making it your own? That might be unique to the book. Something new he added?
So I think it's the commitment to the depth, to the depth of the characters was there in Carrie's draft, and that's what I connected to mostly. There's all my changes have to do with the events in the story, and Pennywise. Mm-hmm. basically.
How does your Pennywise differ from what he was going to do with him?
Well, I probably stuck more to the idea that Pennywise is a shape-shifting monster. And yeah, in that sense, I stuck closer to the book.
And how about with the look of Pennywise? Because, we saw those first images and it looked spot on. So did you know that was the look you wanted to go for, or was there any trial and error with that?
It's an exploration, of course. It's Pennywise. I wanted my theory of my approach to Pennywise was, on one hand, I wanted to stay true to the essence of the character, but at the same time make it an edgier character that is basically unpredictable and people won't expect everything that he comes up with.
Okay. As should happen in a scary horror movie. So I think that sounds wonderful. And I have to ask you about the kids, because even before we saw any real material from the film, you guys were all really busy on social media, and I see all these pictures go up, and it's a hard thing to explain, but something about them just candidly hanging out with each other, something about those pictures, like Instagram pictures, just felt right. They felt like the losers right from the start.
Yeah.
How was the casting process with that? Was there a lot of mixing and matching to get that right?
Well, the casting process is long, of course. It's not difficult because it's really a thrill to see, to slowly see the characters fall into place, or when you finally find your Richie or your Beverly or your Bill. It's a lot of fun. But it was also very natural. I didn't try to put a square on a circle at any time. It was long process, but at the end, each character surfaced, and it was about finding not only the right actor, but the kid that basically shared the DNA with that character. There's some of the characters in the losers that you cannot perform if you don't have it inside of you.
Yeah. Speaking of that, do you have a favorite loser? I'm not talking about in your film, but that's the thing that happens with a group of kids like this. You always find that one you connect to most.
Yeah. Well, I would say Bill, because Bill Dembro is the one that I identify more, because growing up I had so much things in common with him. But Eddie Kaspbrak is probably my other favorite, because he's like this hypochondriac, neurotic kid, and I focused on that character in special. I wanted to bring the humor out of him, and the actor who plays him, Jack Dylan Grazer, is magnificent.
He's something else. He was a riot during that Q&A last night, and they all love you. I mean, you walked into that bar last night, and just watching them all swarm you.
Yeah, well, it was when I'm telling you that it was natural, it was really the bonding between them was real. And by the end of the shoot, I mean, we had a lot of fun shooting, and by the end of the production, we were like a family.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I could totally tell, even just by Instagram photos. Now, of course, I have to ask you about part 2. So I believe I read somewhere that you already said that you are planning on making the part 2, because this is one of those things where I understand sometimes, a director makes one movie and sometimes you have to swap in someone else, and they can do a great job. Yeah. Part 1 and part 2 feels very important to me to have the same person at the helm. I'm
not letting anyone touch it now.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, everyone wants to make it, and it seems like we're gonna do it.
Good stuff.
The second half. It's not a sequel. It's the second half, and it's very connected to the first one. And in my mind, there will be that dialogue between the two timelines that we didn't have in the first one. Because the first one is all about the kids.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Do you have any sort of timeline? Are you working on scripts or anything at this point, or is it just waiting for the first one to come out?
The first one will come out, and for sure we will be at some process of developing the second one. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for if you couldn't tell by my shirt, I'm really freaking excited about your movie. I had so much fun last night. Clips look great. I am rooting for you guys. Thank you for hanging out and chatting with me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. And I think you enjoyed, and you too.
Oh, yeah. See you guys soon.